Hey guys, hi. It's been a while. I've made a video. I've been really busy with the work, so that got me occupied. So finally, I have some time. So I was like, okay, let's make these videos once more. And so yeah, if you don't know me, I make SQL live videos, so which helps you get better at SQL in any way or format. I've almost like 31 or 32 videos on SQL itself and other technologies also, but mainly the channel focus has been SQL for the longest time. So as usual, today's question is gonna be interesting one, and the theme of the question is gonna be self-join and knowing how to do it. So without wasting a time, let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see what the question is about. Um, Let me screen one, this one. Yeah. So here we have this question, and what is this question about? Okay, so this is the table that we have. Okay. What does the question says? The question says, write a query to find all the users who borrowed back to back, meaning they borrowed a book on the next day after returning a previous book. Now, what is the question like? Okay, so observe one thing. So what they're saying is that after they borrowed a book on the next day after returning a previous book. So if you observe one thing, look at here. The return date was this one, but and then other book borrowing was done again. So we want people who borrow book back to back. That's the basic theme of the question that we're trying to solve here. Observe here, it doesn't exist here, and so this is a wrong question. This doesn't qualify. So the only qualification, if you observe each of these, okay, this doesn't. For example, we don't want it. We only want to find the user one. So let's look at 102. 10 return and 15th, which doesn't qualify. Let's do 103. They never did it only once. 104 never returned it. So yeah, so let's look in here. So what you're looking for is something like this, because this is the format you're looking at. Previous borrow book ID and next borrow book ID. So we have to find that out, right? Yeah. So, this is the question. As usual, guys, try to write the question on your own and experiment with, the question that if you have any idea, that you might want to do it, spend 15 minutes on solving it. And yeah, so let me go ahead and, share what up my approach is gonna be and how do I do it. So what happens is that whenever I look at questions like these, okay, and when it is about comparing two dates or something like that, the first thing that comes to my mind, anything else that I can think of, is that I have to do a self join, and then get out of the whatever I want. So self join is a requirement here because we have to compare two dates. Okay, now what you can do it, think about like what method you have to do it. So you have to find out like if this is equivalent, if this should be the next date, right? And how do I do it? You can do, there's a lot of ways to do it. If I have to think at the top of my head, would be if I add one date to it or minus one date from it, and create a new column, and then do a join. If you guys have thought in that way when you were solving, okay, you can do that plus minus, and then calculate a new column and then do it. Okay, that's there. That's definitely a method. But what I want you guys to do is that I want you to write efficient queries, and my goal is that to be able to write queries which are faster and can be returned with without creating a lot of CDs and unwanted columns. So my goal for this would be to be able to use a date function to be able to execute this thing very effectively. So let me go ahead and share the screen. Okay, not the screen, but the solution. Select, let me write from book borrowing, and let's say put another thing and then do join and do another book borrowing. But now let's do it B2. Yes. So this is what you're doing. And what is the format we're looking at? So we're looking at the format of something like this. Okay, B1, user ID. So you want user ID and you want the book ID, right? So let me go ahead and do something like this. Okay, B1, let me B1 dot user ID. You have to give the thing here because it's important. B1 dot um book ID, I think so, yeah. Book ID as previous book ID. Okay. Then let's do something called as, okay. Yeah, let's leave it for now and let's see what do we want here. So what is the joining? What is the join should be on? If you think about it, like think about what is the join you might want to do. Now the join has to be as usual. If you guys have been thinking, okay, it has to be on the user ID because we have to join the basically compare the users categorically, like if they are joining or not. So I'm gonna do b1.userid is equals to b2 dot one more too much shots user ID. Okay, now here is where the another step comes in, which is the joining concept here. Okay, now what happens is that if you are trying to solve this question, as I said, you can create a new column, but I don't want to go around creating new columns every now and then. Okay, so what I'm going to do in here is that I'm going to do something like this: b2 dot, let's say, what is this thing, return date, right? B2 dot return date is equals to um on what? Okay, I'm gonna do date add function here. What does date add function basically do? Date add function is really good if you want to like add something or minus. Basically, if you want to do any sort of subtraction, is where I would say any subtraction or addition is where date add is useful. Okay, now for example, I'll do something b1 dot borrow date. Now, why am I doing this? What is this particular thing does? It's basically what is doing that. I'm saying that, okay, for the table 2, which is the book borrowing B2, okay, its return date should be its return date basically, and I want you to join on the basis that this return date minus one of the borrow date. For example, understand this, okay? So the return date should be equivalent to minus one of the borrow date of the first table from the B1. So what we will do here is that, so the return date is getting matched with minusing one date from the borrow date. So it will be able to do a good match. Okay, that is the entire logic behind this. Okay, now let's see what does this do. If it no, this will not do it because we have to also do one more thing next borrow ID. So let's say next animal we can do something like b2 dot return date. Okay, return ID, sorry, book ID, b2 dot book ID as next borrow ID. Let me see if this does something or not. Okay. B1 previous book ID. Okay. So what we can do here is that, okay. Uh, yeah. So it is coming the other way around. So if I do something like this, I think the answer might be correct if we want. Okay. Because I think I did it on this way. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So what we have done is that so we have to compare the previous book ID, okay, which was the B2 table, okay, is what we did, okay. So yeah, so this is what we did here. Now observe one thing in here, that there's also null in here, okay, which, I mean, it's not coming in here as we are doing it, but it's good practice if I just put something like this where B2 dot, let's say, return date is not null, is not null. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any difference as such, but it's important to do it because if there was any area where if null was being used, okay, we can use it, okay. Now, this is like a very good question. So the entire logic was not here or here. The entire logic was basically understanding to not to create a CT every now and then um, because everyone, the way I think people make a mistake is that they think that every now and then you have to create a CTs and here and there is the way forward. But I don't think so. That's a really good style. I feel understanding the logical understanding is so much more important than just doing things randomly. So yeah, that's something really important, I would say. And yeah, that was a good question in my opinion. Not nothing like massively logical thing like other questions that I've done, but quite a good question for you to understand of not to use CDs, okay, because I push people not to do that, okay. um so yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will try to be more consistent, definitely, okay. As I have to manage a lot of things together. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if I could get like 5 likes for this video. Keeps me motivated and really helps me out. So till then, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.